All right. We are starting the Anthropology transfer student Q&A. We're going to wait a minute or two as more attendees virtually make their way into the room. Welcome, everyone.
Say hello, Bjorn.
Pet cameos. Yeah. We always love it on. All right, maybe just another minute.
This is my ugly chihuahua.
Aw, not ugly.
Oh, she's cute. She's cute.
Well, you can see his tongue is hanging out because he has like no teeth.
Aww.
How old is he, Chris?
He's 11. We got him 3 years ago. He'd been abandoned twice at the SPCA. So, and he had like no hair and a broken toe, and yeah, he was a mess.
He's quirky. He's a quirky chihuahua.
Yeah. So he has hair again, and we fixed his toe.
All right, well, we'll go ahead and get started. And then folks, will just be coming in and out. So welcome everyone to, again, the Anthropology Transfer Student Question and Answer session. We're glad that you could join us today, even though it has to be virtual. And we hope this is a good space to get some of your questions about the major, about the department answered. So we'll start off with introduction so you can know who is on our panel today. So I'm Kelly Scholler. I'm one of the Anthropology undergrad staff advisors in our advising office, and I have been with the department since 2014, and just find it really fascinating to work with anthropology students because there's such a wide breadth of different interests that people have in studying and pursuing anthropology as their major. So it's a very dynamic department, and I'll throw it to my colleague, Carolyn.
Hi there, everyone. I'm Carolyn. I'm the other staff advisor for anthropology, and I've been with the department since 2015. And prior to that, I did some career counseling at another institution, so I love to talk to students about not just their academic goals, but their career goals as well. And just love working with the anthro students. They're so diverse and a lot of fun to hear about all the cool things they get to do in all their labs and other research. So welcome everybody, and congratulations on getting accepted here.
Do you want me to, hi.
Yeah, we'll have our faculty go next.
I wasn't sure if we were next. Hi, I'm Chris Darwent. I'm one of the archaeology faculty here at UC Davis. I've been here since 2001. So I'm kind of, I guess, old now. And I do research in the Arctic regions. So I work in Greenland and Alaska, and I do take students with me, or have taken students with me to the field. And I also bring students in to work in my lab, and sorry about my dog. That's what's barking in the background. So I will mute that.
I got muted again. All right, I am Jeff Kahn. I'm in the sociocultural wing of the anthropology department. I've been here on campus since 2015. I do research on migration, law, borders, but also ritual and religion. And geographically, I work in the United States, Haiti, and I also have done some research and field work in West Africa as well. And welcome everyone, and congratulations on being accepted too.
And now we'll have our peers who are both with us today, who've been in the department and have had the experience of being students and are probably the voices you most want to hear from today. So we'll have them introduce themselves. Let's start with Sarah.
Hi guys. Sorry. Hi guys, my name is Sarah Jajar. I'm a fourth year Bachelor's of Science in Anthropology, and I've been working as a peer advisor since my sophomore year at campus. So I'm not a transfer since I've been working here since my sophomore year, but I have interacted with a lot of transfer students, and just in general, I think that, you know, our department is a really special place on campus because of our mixture of faculty who do all these different disciplines and our students who are super motivated. So it's been a pleasure to be on campus. And even though I'm ending my time here at Davis in quarantine, we're obviously still all connected, even if it's through Zoom. So thank you for being here.
Hi everyone, my name is Sophia and I'm a fourth year transfer student in the anthropology department. I'm a double major in evolutionary wing anthropology as well as communication. And I'm also a peer advisor, and I've been having this position for around a year. And I think that one of the best things about the anthropology department is how welcoming it was when I first transferred here. I didn't really even know of all the possible opportunities within this field, and the faculty, students, and advisors were just all really welcoming.
Awesome. So as we go, feel free to please use the Q&A, throw questions up there, and we'll be answering them either live or one of our folks will type you the answer if we can't get to all the questions. We had folks submit questions beforehand, and so let's start with, and actually this can be for both of you, Sophia and Sarah. Someone wanted to know if there is an anthropology club and what kind of activities do they do?
Well, as you can see based off Sophia's shirt, we both are in the anthropology club. I'm actually the president of the anthropology club this year, and Sophia is my social media and marketing manager. And so, yeah, we pretty much, we've been in operation, it started up again, I think it was like 5 or so years ago by one of the students. And, we've been keeping it going since then. And this year as president, we've had a lot of we try to make our topics more broad, and we switch between a kind of lecture-based style to more activity-based. So like one of the activities we did was we borrowed some grindstones from the SEED, which is the Center for Experimental Archaeology on campus, and we made acorn flour. So, we kind of do a mix of topics. We have a mix of faculty come and then grad students. So it gives them an opportunity to share their research in a more casual setting, and it also gives our students to interact with, the opportunity to interact with faculty. It may be a less, classroom setting where we have obviously the instructors in charge of your grades, and there's that kind of dynamic going. It's a little bit chiller, and I think students really like it. Plus we have snacks, so that's always a bonus.
Yeah, Sarah, that about covers it. I know we had, before quarantine became the new normal, we had some also like trips together that we had planned, like to go to museums or cool local sites. So hopefully that will continue on in the next years once we're no longer on Zoom.
Great. Yeah, thanks. So they're definitely, like Sarah and Sophia both have mentioned, there's a tight-knit community within the Anthro department, and joining Anthro Club as a transfer student, and I think Sophia mentioned it is a nice way to immediately feel part of that community with that group of students, who are obviously all coming together in the department. So the next question that we have gotten a lot of kind of around is field school. And so I'm going to throw that to Chris Darwin. Just questions around what kind of field schools are there for Anthro students in our department. Someone wanted to know if there are language requirements for field schools, if they're abroad. But I guess just in general, do you want to chat about our field school, and then just maybe other field schools students may participate if they don't do the one at UC Davis?
So UC Davis has actually been offering an archaeological field school since 1968 or 69. So it's actually one of the longest running field schools in the country. And the big thing about our department in terms of archaeology compared to the other UCs in the system is the focus on studying hunter-gatherer populations. So these are folks that are kind of pre-cities, and so very mobile groups of people. But the other focus of this department has been the focus on people who lived here in California and the Great Basin region in the past. And so the reason though that this kind of initiated as more of a local field school is because it is often very cost prohibitive for students to take field schools in other countries. I know to do a field school at Kubifora, which is, it used to be run through Rutgers University, was about $10,000, and you hadn't even got to Kenya yet. And so we have tried to keep our field school as cost effective as possible because we wanted any student to be able to take it. I know when I was an undergraduate at the University of Calgary, taking a field school was required to get your degree in archaeology because a field school is kind of like your trade certificate. It's what gets you jobs afterwards as a field technician. And so it's not just about kind of doing like a fun summer adventure, although that is part of it. But one of the other reasons for doing a field school in the United States is because you're more likely to be employed as an archaeologist in the United States than you are to be employed working on a site in Kenya. So just out of the realities of it. And so I do encourage students who want to stick with archaeology as a career in the US to take a US-based field school. But the other thing is that if you are really interested in another part of the world, please, by all means, look into other field school opportunities. And we've had students go to study medieval sites in Ireland, to work on Paleolithic sites in France. And we do sometimes have opportunities, not specifically as a field school course, but opportunities to go with faculty who work in France, South Africa, Mongolia, Belgium. So this summer, in fact, we have 2 undergraduates who were awarded small fellowships of about, I think there were $300 or $400 from the Sacramento Archaeological Society to help fund field work that they will be undertaking in Belgium with Dr. Zvins, who's one of our professors. And so although all of us who do archaeology in this department focus on hunter-gatherers, we do that in different parts of the world. So I have taken students to Alaska, to Greenland. Dr. Irkins has taken students to California. I always joke with him that when he complains about logistics, I go, really, what would that be? Starting the engine of the car and driving it to the site? Whereas my logistics usually involve helicopters, boats, twin otters, and so forth. So again, the field school versus your opportunity to undertake different field experiences can often be 2 different things. Last year, for example, our field school went to Peru, and that was partly subsidized by the faculty member who ran that. And so he took students down there to the Lake Titicaca region. This summer, we are still hoping to go out in summer session 2 to the Great Basin. I think as long as everybody goes in there healthy, they should be fine, because they're going to be in a very remote part of Nevada, and the Bureau of Land Management, which is the land that they will be working on, looking for antelope drives, which are drive lanes for hunting antelope in the past. They're very eager to have the students come out there this summer. So again, very fingers tightly crossed. Sorry, I'm just scanning over to see if I answered all that. As far as language requirements, there are no language requirements for field schools just about anywhere in the world that you go to. Most of them are, if they are offered to English-speaking people. They're usually offered in English, but you can take field schools that will then immerse you into a particular language if you are interested. And then probably Jeff could speak to this more about cultural anthropology, but I know there are a lot of study abroad opportunities to take cultural anthropology courses or other courses in other countries. And I strongly recommend students take either a summer or a quarter or a year study abroad. It's just an amazing chance to learn another language, learn another culture, and as anthropologists, that's kind of what we do. That's what makes us different from sociology, is this kind of world perspective. Oh, and so, sorry, I'm getting distracted because I'm noticing other questions coming in. Do you guys, should we start answering some of those?
Yeah, I think I just wanted to note real quick with field school that there are some options, not through UC Davis, but through other organizations that offer ethnographic field schools. We have gotten some emails from different institutions and organizations, and our faculty, would need to look over the syllabi for those to see if those could give credit for our curriculum. But there are those opportunities for cultural anthro students to do field schools related to ethnographic methods. There's one that's typically offered in Belize, and then one that has been offered in the past in Malta. And so these are all opportunities that we send out on a weekly basis as they come to us through a newsletter, a MailChimp newsletter that our peer advisors put together every week. So you will get that automatically starting in the fall. So all these kinds of opportunities will be in there, but there are field school options for cultural anthro students too, just not specifically through UC Davis. Okay, so I think
Sorry, Kelly,
field
just to
school
follow
is
up
one.
on that. Sorry, Kelly, just to
Oh,
follow
yeah,
up on
yeah.
that, there are a number of field schools for primatology as well.
Yes,
Costa
yes,
Rica is
thank
one
you.
of the main ones, but also the Smithsonian Institution in Panama, where one of our former faculty members is now kind of a director of in Germany, but they take students there as well. And she's taken a number of undergraduates when she was here. That's it.
Yeah, so I think, definitely as a transfer student, link up with our different faculty who can direct you to these different opportunities that they may know about through different colleagues. For every kind of, interest of subfields within anthropology, there's probably an opportunity, for field school or for studying abroad. We are getting some questions about studying abroad, and like Chris was saying, that's definitely encouraged. And in cultural anthro, that's definitely part of the curriculum. Jeff, I don't know if you want to speak to your thoughts on studying abroad if someone is in the cultural anthro emphasis.
Sure. Yeah, I can talk about that. I can also talk about honors thesis research, because I know there was a pre-circulated question about that. And I think kind of the primary way that one would go and do field work, either abroad or in the United States, in the anthropology, the sociocultural emphasis, would be through the thesis research. You're right, Kelly, there are ethnographic field schools as well that are not run through UC Davis, but in terms of being supervised by faculty members here, that's often done through the honors program or some other form of kind of culminating writing exercise. So basically for that, there are certain GPA requirements that have to be met. I think it's like a 3.6 or something like that in the major. Is that right, Kelly? Kelly's nodding yes. And what you want to do is when you get here, you want to look over the different faculty members in the department and think about what you might be interested in. You might come with an idea already in your head. There might be something that sparks your curiosity in some of the classes you're taking in the fall. You can talk to professors in the classes who are teaching the classes you're taking in the fall if there's something that kind of falls out of their area of expertise, and see if they can recommend anyone else in the department. But you want to start thinking, because you are transfer students and you only have 2 years here, you want to start thinking about that pretty soon after you get here. And then what you want to do in the winter quarter is start talking to the relevant faculty members and start kind of trying to put together a project or idea. Because if you're going to be working with human subjects, talking to people, doing ethnographic fieldwork, whether in the United States or abroad, there are certain requirements that you're going to have to meet, and there are certain deadlines for funding opportunities, so you want to think about that as well. And what you can start to do is put together a project that would most likely be executed during the summer or the fall, and then you'd come back and you do a series of independent studies that would relate to that project. But again, that can involve traveling abroad, or again, staying in the US and doing ethnographic field work, but it is that field work dimension that's usually quite important. That might change a little bit depending on what happens with the pandemic, but there will be other types of kind of working with primary source materials, whether it's online or through other creative means. But there'll be a way to figure something out. But again, you want to start thinking about it when you get here. I think that's probably all I want to say about the honors thesis right now. But I'm happy to answer any other questions. All this study abroad stuff, I think, is up in the air right now, so we're not really entirely sure about that.
Yeah, and the honors thesis, just to make it clear, is not required for students. It's an optional experience that students can have, and typically we have about a handful of students each year who decide to pursue it because it is such a large undertaking. So don't feel like you have to, do this or pursue this, but it is good, like Jeff is saying, to start thinking about it as a transfer student, by your second quarter, and start talking to faculty instead of scrambling to try and find a faculty advisor for that during your senior year, because the application is due at the start of the academic year. So at the beginning of your senior year is when that would be due. So you'd want to ask someone the summer or spring of your junior year, your first year at Davis. So anyway, it's good to just be thinking about that if that is an interest you have.
Kelly, we're getting a lot of questions
Yeah.
about different emphases, what sociocultural,
Yes.
BS, general. Can you kind of go over some of that?
Yeah. So we have, within the Bachelor of Arts, we have 3 different emphasis areas, and someone asked a question about the general emphasis, which is new. It just started this fall. So we have the sociocultural emphasis, the evolutionary emphasis, and the general emphasis, which is new. The evolutionary curriculum and the sociocultural curriculum, it's pretty self-explanatory in terms of, they're focusing on either the cultural anthro side or the biological evolutionary side of anthropology. And those requirements are listed on our website under the undergraduate section. The general emphasis we created really because some of our previous peer advisors brought it to our attention that a lot of students, especially transfer students, really did not want to choose one curriculum of doing only biological anthro classes or cultural anthro classes and wanted to do both. So it is a combination of essentially doing half and half for upper division courses, half evolutionary classes and half cultural anthro classes. And so it's a nice way if you just have an interest in everything related to anthropology, to not have to choose one track or another and get to have more of the interdisciplinary experience. The Bachelor of Science, which maybe after I speak, Sarah can speak to a little bit about it because she is doing the Bachelor of Science, is a completely different curriculum. It includes, as it sounds like, a more science coursework in addition to anthro, so biology, calculus, chemistry, organic chemistry, and it really is helpful for students who are pre-health, so that can be pre-med, pre-dental, pre-nursing, and need a lot of those requirements anyway, but it allows you to study anthropology and not just focus on the biosciences and have more, of a humanistic view of medicine, but still get a lot of those prereqs for those pre-health programs done. And the coursework for upper division is a little bit more specific in terms of which anthro classes are required, and also an upper div biology genetics class is required, along with some restricted electives relating to different bioscience anthropology options. So it is a very different curriculum, and you would want to talk to Carolyn or myself if you have not completed a lot of the lower division coursework for the BS coming in as a transfer student, so we can just talk about your academic plan and how long it would take you to finish. But Sarah, maybe you can kind of just talk about being pre-health, you know, how the BS has been valuable to you.
Yeah, so as Kelly mentioned, I am doing the BS degree, and I actually been doing it since the beginning. Since I came in, I decided to do the BS, and that's because, as Kelly was mentioning, I felt like it would give me a more holistic sense of people in general. I didn't want to do the traditional biosci or chemistry because I felt like that would make me lose insight and kind of focus on people, which is why I'm going into medicine, or why I'm interested in going into medicine. So I think that the Bachelor of Science has been helpful in that way. And I like how most of our requirements are focused on lower divisions that a majority of pre-health or pre-med schools or medical schools want. So, you know, if you are interested in being a nurse, a PA, a doctor, or something along the lines, I know I've seen some people ask questions about forensics. It does cover a lot of the basic science courses that forensic students would need to. So I feel like it's been pretty helpful. You know, if you're interested already at this point in the specific field, I would, you know, do more research in the grad school requirements that you are interested in, just so that when you're coming into our major, especially with the BS, you kind of have it all mapped out. Because even though it is pretty set up for you, it's good to have your own like knowledge of what grad schools are expecting from you, so that you don't lose, you know, sight of what is important when you're taking classes. Because it's really tempted to just take a bunch of classes, because all of our classes in our major are super fun. But saying that, I did have a lot of time to take classes in the S wing too, even with the BS major, and those classes have been really valuable to me as well. For example, I took medical anthropology at 190 or 121 with Christina Giordano, one of our faculty, and it was like an invaluable class to me, and I think it opened my eyes to a lot of aspects of healthcare that I hadn't realized before. So even if you're taking E-Wing, or you know, wanting to take the Bachelor of Science wholesale, don't forget about other courses that we offer that can really broaden your horizons.
All right. So Chris, and maybe Sophia and Sarah, do you all want to speak to how labs are done within the anthroevolutionary classes?
Sure. Yeah. In fact, actually, those are the questions that I had like highlighted that people had sent in earlier, and a few folks are asking about now. Just to caveat this, I'm not sure how this is going to go with online in the fall. I am currently teaching a lab-based course in online, and I'll have to say it is probably one of the most difficult things I have ever done to try and transfer hands-on learning of skeletal anatomy, which is a very tactile thing and a very three-dimensional thing, to a two-dimensional images and drawings to try and bring this across. And so, and as you probably, or you may or may not be aware, you know, in the semester system schools, they shifted over to online about halfway through their quarter or their semester, whereas we, it happened right at our finals week. And then the faculty were basically told, you got a week, and now you need to completely reconfigure your course. And so I have literally spent about 10 to 12 hours per 1 hour lecture to redo my class. So I would prefer us to go back to having real labs. It's definitely a lot easier because I really have to think much more in depth about how to describe everything as opposed to being able to experience it. So that being said, if we are online, human osteology is going to be taught as an online course this fall if that's where we go, as well as you know, introduction to archaeology, intro to biological anthropology, and any of the other kind of hands-on classes that we have. So it says, so sorry, I'm just scanning at the questions there. Are there research projects that are done in labs that are not part of a class? Yes, unfortunately right now, one of the major labs that we have is our archaeometry lab that's run by Dr. Erkins, and it's completely shut down right now, in part because the stable isotope facility, which runs the samples that he processes in his lab, is closed to the submission of any new samples. So in fact, all of, with the exception of one, all of his honors thesis students are on hold as far as their results go of the projects that they started. And so I think he's actually been giving them other data that he has to work on himself. And to try to get them through that way. They also had their conferences that they were all supposed to go to present, canceled as well. So normally we have an extremely rich hands-on experience with students interning in the museum, or interning with Dr. Erkin's lab, with my lab. Sarah is one who worked with my husband and on our material from Greenland that we brought back. She got to kind of clean and rehabilitate the material that came from the field. So she learned what baleen looks like and what bone and ivory look like. So there are a lot of hands-on activities that we normally do. And so I'm very hopeful that we'll be able to get back to those, at least in some form. Just to, if any folks are wondering, we did actually just receive an email from the chair of our department asking us about how we would potentially transfer our online courses or our courses in fall to online. I think what they're trying to do is judge that if there are certain classes, I can imagine like a chemistry lab, of being able to potentially keep the lecture online, but have in-person labs where folks could be spread out more across multiple classrooms, I think is what is kind of being thought about. That's what they're doing at Sac State with nursing classes. So, and then the other question that was on here related to labs was like what says, how are the labs? Hopefully I've explained that. Does the department have bone examples of our fellow ancestors? Yes. We have two classrooms that are dedicated to biological anthropology that have casts, fossil casts of all of the various humanoid or hominoid ones that are on our lineage, as well as the ones that are on the other primates lineages, Egyptopithecus and various other ones like that. And we also have a zooarchaeology lab where we have animal bones that we use for identifying animal remains from archaeological sites for paleoclimatic reconstruction or past dietary reconstructions. So, and that's my lab space. So, so yes, we have lots of opportunities for hands-on interacting with kind of the real thing. And that's, I think, one of the advantages to coming to a UC is this ability to interact very closely with faculty and get to do research yourself, which is often a rarity in community colleges. I think I answered all those questions. There was one question related to the museum that I'll just touch on. And so I mentioned that there are museum internships. Our museum has no money. and so donate if you have the ability. But the reason I say that is somebody was asking about federal work study. Federal work study is something that only works if we have money. So because federal work study will pay for, it used to be, I think it was 75%, and then 25% came from you know, the place that you were employed. And so we do have federal work study for some of our office staff assistants, but we don't for the museum. So we don't have any funds that we can match federal work study funds with, but but you can do it for units. So there are other ways to get involved.
Awesome. So Sarah and Sophia, I mean, in terms of pre-COVID life, is there a favorite lab class of yours that you can maybe speak to, just in terms of the hands-on experience?
I think my first class one of the first classes I took once I first got to Davis was human osteology. And that's definitely up there in one of my favorite classes. And also along the lines of that, zooarchaeology has also been one of my favorite courses, just having that hands-on, really kind of close interaction with specimens was something that I felt like I didn't get enough of in my community college. So it was really great to get to explore that more. And I kind of took what I learned from those classes to my internships in the department as well. I work with the Center, I worked with the Center for Experimental Archaeology, working with animal remains for a graduate student's big thesis. And then I also help one of our faculty members with the paleoanthropology lab with all the human remains, helping curate them and identify them and keeping everything organized so it's good for labs. So it's definitely, you get to use the experiences that you learn in these lab classes in like more real world applications.
Yeah, I'm pretty much the same thing as Sophia. My most memorable lab is probably human osteology. And that's actually the class that got me an internship with Dr. Weaver, who's the instructor of the course. So yeah, to go on internships, because I've seen a lot of questions pop up in the chat box about internships. In our department, it's fairly easier, I feel, than other majors to get an internship because the faculty are all very knowledgeable about, of course, work done within their own lab, but also work done within other faculty's labs. So if the particular faculty you're talking to ends up not having any open spots or research that kind of meets with your goals as a student, they will often know what research their faculty members are doing, and they can refer you to those, either grad students or faculty who are doing research. So this is the same for both the E-Wing and the S-Wing. So, if you have a class that really inspires you and you really like what you're learning in there and you want to take it further and to go hands-on, talk to your professors. All our faculty are obviously, as you can see from Dr. Khan and Dr. Darwent, are super nice and easygoing. So, talk to them. They're a really valuable resource for you guys.
Yeah, I think that's one of the most valuable things that you can do as a transfer student is just getting involved in research. The second you have the opportunity to. I know from personal experience, I felt kind of a little afraid to go talk to faculty members, or like didn't really even know if I could do research or if I had a place in that world. But the second that you just kind of start trying, opportunities will come. That's the great thing about Davis and our department.
Carolyn, do you want to speak to the question someone pre-submitted about if they're unsure of which route to take in anthropology? Is there someone that can help them through it? The short answer to that is yes. And I think just speaking to IE advising for transfers and how they'll be connecting with us this summer.
Yeah, great. So as far as for those of you who accept and come to UC Davis, you will go through an orientation program. There will be an online workshops that you'll be attending, and they're calling it Aggie 101, and you'll have access to that as of June 1st. Once you complete those modules, then you will meet via Zoom individually with either Kelly or I, and we will help you think about registration for fall, help you pick which direction you want to go, talk about BA versus BS versus general emphasis, sociocultural, evolutionary. All of those questions will help you answer and help you pick some courses to take in fall. Make sure you're not already taking something that you've taken at your community college, all of those great things. So we're going to go over all that with you individually. So yes, there is definitely help as far as helping you pick a direction. one of the things I can honestly say is our anthro faculty are absolutely wonderful and love to talk to students and can answer your questions too. So if after talking to us you still feel confused, I would definitely reach out to them. I'm sure they'd be happy to have a conversation with you if you're worried about certain things, and we can direct you to like specific faculty member that might have the answers to your specific questions. So everybody is willing to help you out and support you and make sure you're headed in the right direction. So, so that's kind of how that will work. You'll definitely have time to talk with us.
Yeah, and we can help you navigate, you know, between the different emphasis areas. It's not something that from your very first week on campus, you need to know whether you're doing the general emphasis or the cultural emphasis or the evolutionary emphasis. That is something that you can decide, you know, your second or even your third quarter. If you are planning to try and do the Bachelor of Science though, or you're undecided between the BA or the BS, that is something I would say definitely your first quarter or in your Aggie advising appointment this summer, you want to talk through with us just because the curriculums are so different, and we want to make sure you're taking the right classes. So just wanted to address that.
And your registration appointment won't happen till the middle of August, so you'll have plenty of time to connect with us in between June and August when you'll have your registration, so you can think about some of the things that we talked about in your appointment.
Okay, so I think this is a good question that we get a lot, is just what folks want to be doing with their anthro degree after they graduate and what resources there are for helping navigate that. And yeah, if there are careers outside of academia to apply anthro to, yes, the answer to those questions is a resounding yes. There are definitely resources both in our advising office, but also through a great resource on campus called the Internship and Career Center that can help students navigate the career development piece of how you want to, you know, take different things you have learned or different skills you've gained from your major. And in anthro, again, it's very broad. You're going to get, you know, strong analytical skills, writing skills, critical thinking, all these things that can apply to really any major or any career in any kind of avenue. So I think it's just trying to figure out what your interests are and which kind of career field you want to enter, and then working with, you know, our advising office, but also the Internship and Career Center to be getting the hands-on experience through internships. It is just really important to get the outside of the classroom experience. And, you know, if you're interested in archaeology, obviously field school is a great way to do that. Not everyone in the anthro department wants to pursue something specifically in anthro as a career. So that's where the Internship and Career Center will be something where they can give you, you know, more broad help with the career piece. But we have alumni who go into all different paths, from education to counseling to government to nonprofit work to digital media and marketing and other aspects of business, human resources. I mean, really the list goes on and on. So we encourage students to, you know, explore your career interests, and majors don't equal careers anymore. It's giving you skills that you can apply to any kind of career. So it's more so you exploring and thinking about what career interests you have, and then talking to us in the Internship and Career Center about how to be getting outside of the classroom experiences to help with that. Maybe Sophia can kind of address, since you're anthro and a communication double major, kind of how you foresee, you know, now that you're graduating, like paths you're exploring, because I know you're thinking of things outside of anthropology.
Yeah, I think that anthropology has provided a lot of not just research-based experience, but also just a better understanding of humans. And honestly, a lot of grad programs really look for that kind of more wide-based education. And I think that anthropology definitely provides that to students, because you can kind of study a little bit of everything within this department, and that's helped I'm involved in research within the communication department, so I'm currently trying to finish my honors thesis, and although it's not an anthropology honors thesis, I have used a lot of the kind of tools and theories that I've learned in anthropology to help kind of back up my research. And I think that this is a trend that you can kind of follow into careers or other research, even if it's not directly related to anthropology. It definitely your only options as a career are not archaeologist or scholar. There's a lot out there that you can choose from.
Sophia, can you answer that other question that's about research opportunities in paleoanthropology?
Yeah, there's a lot of really great opportunities within paleoanthropology in the department. I work in Dr. Weaver's lab, and I help curate things, which has been really fun, and I've been using my knowledge from human osteology to help do that, or I was. I guess I don't do that anymore, but it's definitely, there's a lot out there. You can work with the Center for Experimental Archaeology as well, or they can help connect you to people with those types of interests. And also, I believe, I haven't personally worked in his lab, but on the more science side of things, but I think that Dr. Weaver's grad students also have a lot of cool opportunities, and I think Sarah could speak more on that.
Yeah, I'm currently working with, I was working with one of the postdocs in the paleobiology lab, Dr. Laura Buck. She's now gone off to London, but I was working with her on her project with macaques, and macaques that are hybridized. So that was a really cool project. We got to use CT scans, so that was cool to see that aspect of anthropology. It's kind of like you always think of the physical. So there are opportunities for stuff online. I'm still technically an intern because I'm doing lab work remotely. But the grad students in the labs are also just as valuable as the professors, because if professors have already too many hands working on a project, they know grad students who are always willing to, help undergrads out, and also they need help themselves with their projects. So, if you're interested in a particular field and that professor doesn't have, any availability, grad students are also a great way to get exposure to different research fields in both wings of the department. I know that one of, it's not in the anthropology department specifically, but one of our club officers, Tina, she's working with a sociology professor, Dr. O, and she's doing a project on social media with him. So, those sorts of things that could be done online remotely. So if the fall does end up becoming online, professors have to be by their inboxes now. So, send an email to your professors if you have any questions about that, especially if their research is really interesting to you and you want to kind of hit the ground running, because as a transfer, it's really important to kind of get your foot in the door and talk to the professors early on, so that you don't, lose those connections, even if we're not in person. It's good to keep up with them too.
I just wanted to add something though, that if you email us and for some reason we don't reply, keep in mind that there are many of us who are at home with our own kids, and so our schedules have been kind of screwed up just like everyone else's, and so there's a lot of faculty. Dr. Khan there has younger children than I do, so it's kind of ended up where I know even my colleagues have been kind of like feeling a bit overwhelmed at the moment, just like the students are. So just bear with us if we're a little slow to respond, because I saw somebody wrote that they wrote a message to Jeff Kahn and he didn't reply. Well, he has 2 small children, so give him a break.
I find no record.
Compassion for us all.
So there might have been a typo. I invited the student to, and invite all of you, if you don't get a response, you can also send another email. And in fact, would welcome the reminder. You give us a week. You don't hear back from us, send another email. We won't find it irritating. We'll to the contrary. In fact, please do.
Okay, Chris, so there was the question about the size of the department. Do you want to address that one?
I apologize. I've been typing answers, and then I accidentally hit the answer live rather than the type. So, but there are 22 faculty in the anthropology department. There are 12 in the sociocultural side and 10 in the evolutionary side. And in evolutionary, this is about evenly split between 5 who focus more on archaeology and 5 who focus more on biological anthropology, and that includes geneticists, primatologists, paleoanthropologists studying Neanderthals, and so anyways, that's, I meant to just type that, sorry.
No, it's good. I think it's good to hear it live.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Kelly, Chris was kind of laying out some of the interests in the E-wing. I might just add some of the interests in the S-wing. You know,
yes.
A wide range from, I think, Kelly, you had mentioned, someone had asked a question about media. We have people who work on media. We have folks who work on medicine, migration, law, warfare, I don't know if I said religion already, space, so geographies, urban landscapes. We have urban anthropologists. I'm kind of in my head walking down the hallway, political ecology, and folks who work in Latin America, India, Africa, the Caribbean, the United States, Europe. So there's Morocco and Mexico. There's a wide range of geographic foci and topical foci as well. So it's a pretty diverse department in terms of subject specialization.
I just wanted to add, as far as size of the department, as far as students, there's about 200 to 250 students depending on the given time that we run the numbers, and I actually think that that's a really great size for our department. We have a lot of opportunity. We're big enough to have an anthro club and to have all these labs and all these other things going on, but it's not so big that you get lost. I talked to a lot of other students who are transferring from other majors, and they feel like they get a little lost in some of these bigger departments, and so I feel like the size of the anthropology department is actually really a great thing for students who are involved in it, because they can really connect. They know all the other students in the department. They know all the faculty and have those opportunities. So I just wanted to address the size from that perspective, as well as the faculty size.
Yeah, and going off on that perspective, I think a lot of people told me that if I choose a UC, my classes are going to be really big. I won't get to talk to my professors that often, and that really ended up not being the case in this department. I found my class sizes to be pretty comparable to what I had at my community college in my more focused anthropology classes, so it was really great because you still have the opportunity to connect with students and with faculty members.
And there's also some, with the size of the department, there's also kind of some hidden folks here. We have a few lecturers that are kind of around as well. The person that just handed me my Starbucks is the other Dr. Darwin. And he teaches a variety of classes here and also takes in a number of interns to work with him. He does geographic information system, so mapping, as well as stone tools, and works in the Arctic, and Sarah has worked with him. Thanks for
I also Hi, Dr. Darwin.
Sarah's saying hi.
The other thing I want to kind of jump off of Dr. Khan's point too is in the socioculture department, with all the different courses that go on, don't feel pressure to pick one topic, because there is so many topics that Dr. Khan mentioned. I personally found it really valuable to just kind of explore the different topics that the socioculture department offered, because while they are separated into kind of sections like media, war, law, like those broad sections, we also have super interesting courses that are just kind of like one-offs almost, it seems. Like Dr. Khan's course on ocean worlds has been something that I personally wish I could have taken, because I'm the one who types the reviews at the end of the quarter for the courses when they do paper. So I always hear people like say, oh, it's so great, amazing. And I'm like, wow, I wish I had the time in my schedule, like could I add a 5th year? But be sure to like explore courses even if they're outside of your major interest, because like I said earlier, it just gives you a better, well-rounded kind of aspect of anthropology. And some people were asking earlier in the comments about career options. When people are choosing people for their team, they want people who are well-rounded. So it couldn't hurt to have some more, you know, outside of your main focus insight, so that you can also kind of, basically I'm trying to say you can be more well-rounded. And that's something that our major allows you to do, even if you choose to not go outside of our major topics. So that's all I want to say.
And speaking to that point, there were some questions that were answered, but just to kind of generally answer it here about doing a minor, possibly doing a double major. Obviously, I mean, Sophia's an example. She has double majored and she is a transfer student, so that is possible with careful planning, but definitely it is possible as a transfer student to at least do a minor. It's not required, but it is a good way to get the additional units you need to graduate, because just fulfilling the anthro curriculum as a transfer student, even if your IGETC is completely done and all your GEs through that are done, you will still need additional units to graduate, and you'll learn more about this during the orientation modules, but it can't hurt if you have some time in quarantine life after your spring semester finals are done, you know, to just explore on the UC Davis website, just Google the minors, and there's many different minors. We have students minor in everything from geology to there's a public health minor, education, there's an oceanography minor, like there's a minor for so many different interests, human rights, a bunch of different things. So anyway, it's a good way to, like Sarah's saying, be well-rounded, explore different interests, and to get those extra units you need to graduate. You don't have to do a minor. So we have some students who have so many interests, they don't want to, you know, do one particular minor, and they want to take a women's studies class and a religious studies class and an art class, you know, and they get their different units that way to graduate. But if you have an interest and would like to put that towards a minor, it's definitely possible as a transfer student to minor and potentially double major.
Yeah, I kind of want to speak to that too, because I saw in the comments someone was asking if there's a particular minor that was good for the career they wanted to go to, like this person was interested in dentistry. So it might be actually better to not lock yourself down with a minor, like Kelly was saying, because often minors have hidden prerequisites that you might have not completed at your CC. So if your goal is to transfer, as a transfer is to get out in 2 years, it might actually add time if you were to pursue a minor that had a lot of hidden prerequisites that you didn't complete at CC. So, you know, keep those things in mind, because if you are looking for a particular minor to solve all your problems, there might not be a complete package for your particular case. So it might be more valuable for you to just take your time and explore classes that really interest you and also matter to your grad schools, rather than locking yourself down with a minor that could add unwarranted stress and maybe time to your UC Davis experience.
Yes, that is a definite good point about prereqs for minor classes. So that's good to be aware of. All right, well, it looks like we're at our time. That time flew by with everyone's questions. So thank you so much for engaging and yeah, just asking all different kinds of questions. We are definitely free, Carolyn and myself, via email. If you have questions as you're, you know, trying to make your decision by June 1st about coming, we definitely hope we see you in some way or another in fall, whether it's virtually or maybe hopefully in person. We'll have to see. And yeah, for those of you that end up coming, we will definitely see you for appointments starting after June 8th as part of the ID advising orientation process. So thanks again, everyone, for joining and asking your questions today. And we hope you become Aggies and join the department and get to experience everything folks have talked about here today. So most importantly, stay safe, stay healthy, and have a good rest of your weekend.